The drug worked. Doctors trusted it. Millions of people took it. And then the warning label changed. No scandal. No emergency announcement splashed across the news. No moment where everything suddenly stopped. Just a quiet update. After the drug had already been approved, prescribed, and absorbed into everyday life. Because FDA approval doesn't mean what most people think it means. And once you understand what it actually represents, you start seeing modern medicine very differently. To see why, we need to rewind to the exact moment a drug earns those two powerful words. This is Behind the Pill, where we explain how modern medicine really works. When most people hear FDA approved, they imagine certainty, a final answer, a stamp that closes the case. Safe, tested, settled. But FDA approval of a new prescription drug means something much narrower than that. It means the manufacturer has provided evidence to the FDA showing that the benefits of the drug outweigh the risks. For most patients, for a specific use. That phrase, for a specific use, matters more than most people realize. Approval is not blanket permission. It does not mean a drug is approved for every condition it might help with. And it does not mean the drug is approved for every person who might take it. Approval also does not mean the drug is risk-free. It does not mean long-term effects are fully known. And it does not mean the drug works equally well for everyone who takes it. Those assumptions are common. They're understandable. But they are not part of what approval guarantees. There's another detail that surprises a lot of people when they hear it for the first time. The FDA does not conduct its own experiments. It does not recruit patients. It does not run the clinical trials itself. Instead, the FDA reviews studies that are designed, funded, and conducted by the company developing the drug. The FDA evaluates whether those studies followed required protocols, whether the data was collected correctly, and whether the conclusions match the results. This isn't negligence. It isn't a loophole. It's how the system is designed to work. The FDA's role is oversight, not discovery. Once you understand that, a bigger question opens up. How much testing actually happens before a drug is approved? Before a drug ever reaches a pharmacy, it moves through multiple phases of clinical trials. Early trials are small. They focus on basic safety, dosage, and how the drug behaves inside the body. Later trials grow larger. They begin measuring effectiveness, often by comparing the drug to a placebo or to an existing treatment. But even in the largest trials, the number of participants is limited. Most new prescription drugs are tested on a few hundred people in early phases, and a few thousand people by the time approval is considered. That group is not a random slice of the population. Participants are carefully selected. Certain age ranges are included. Certain health conditions are excluded. People taking multiple medications are often filtered out. This makes trials cleaner, easier to interpret, but it also makes them less representative of real life. If a side effect appears in only a small percentage of users, it may never show up during testing. If a reaction depends on genetics, age, or drug combinations, it can slip through unnoticed. And if a problem takes years to develop, the trial simply ends before it has time to appear. This isn't a secret flaw in the system. It's a statistical reality. Clinical trials are powerful tools, but they are snapshots. They capture what happens under controlled conditions over a limited period of time with a specific group of people. Sometimes, instead of measuring long-term outcomes directly, trials rely on surrogate endpoints. These are indirect measures, like lab values or biomarkers, that are believed to predict meaningful health benefits later on. Surrogate endpoints can speed up development. They can make treatments available sooner, but they also introduce uncertainty. Because improving a marker does not always translate into improved long-term health for every patient. This is why the most revealing phase of a drug's life doesn't happen before approval. It happens after. Once a drug is approved, the testing pool doesn't just grow, it explodes. Instead of thousands of participants, the drug is now taken by millions of people. Different ages, different medical histories, different genetic backgrounds, different combinations of medications. This is when rare effects become visible. This is when patterns begin to form. And history shows how often this matters. Between 2001 and 2010, the FDA approved 222 new drugs. Of those drugs, 32% were later followed by a recall, a warning, or a safety alert after hitting the market. Almost 1 in 3. Not because approval failed, not because the trials were fake, but because some risks simply could not be seen earlier. Approval did not end the safety process. It triggered the largest test of all. FDA approval is not about perfection, it's about balance. Approval is a decision based on risk versus benefit, not the absence of harm. A drug may carry serious risks, but if it treats a serious condition effectively, and there are few alternatives, it can still be approved. That decision is made within a system that also includes funding, time constraints, and commercial incentives. Clinical trials cost money. They take years. And every delay affects whether a drug ever reaches patients or ever reaches the market at all. None of this means the system is corrupt, but it does mean decisions are made under pressure, using incomplete information. Some risks do not appear immediately. They surface slowly through patient reports, doctor observations, and long-term data. This process is known as post-market surveillance. It exists because the FDA knows approval is not the final chapter. Through this process, labels may be updated, warnings may be added, usage may be restricted, additional studies may be required, sometimes years after approval. This does not mean the drug was unsafe from day one. It means the system learned something new only after scale made it visible. And once you understand that, FDA approval starts to feel less like a finish line and more like a checkpoint. FDA approved sounds final. It feels definitive. But in reality, it means a drug passed required testing based on current evidence for a specific use at a specific moment in time. It does not mean all risks are known. It does not mean all populations were represented. And it does not mean future findings will not change the picture. When warnings appear later, people often feel misled. But the truth is simpler and more uncomfortable. Medicine operates in probabilities, not guarantees. And FDA approval reflects that reality. FDA approval is not meaningless. It is not dishonest. and it is not optional. But it is also not a promise of perfection. It is a decision made under uncertainty, balancing benefit against risk within real-world limits. Understanding that does not mean rejecting medicine. It means engaging with it honestly, because behind every approved pill is not certainty, but a calculated risk. This is behind the pill.